I shouldn't be alive today. I faced ambushes, explosions, and nights so cold I thought I'd never wake up. But the story I want to share with you isn't just about war. It's about survival, loyalty, and an unlikely friend who saved my life in ways I never expected. You see, in the middle of Afghanistan, after 9/11, when the world was on fire, I found hope in the form of a stray dog. And that dog changed everything.
I'm Staff Sergeant Daniel Hayes, U.S. Army. Back in 2001, just weeks after the attacks on 9/11, my unit was deployed to Afghanistan. We were young, motivated, and angry. We were told our mission was clear: find the enemy, break their strongholds, and protect our country from another tragedy. Afghanistan was unlike anything I'd ever seen. The mountains were endless, the terrain harsh, the nights freezing cold. Every shadow felt like a threat. Every road could hide an IED. One night, after returning from a long patrol near the border, I saw movement outside our makeshift outpost. I froze, my finger on the trigger, heart racing. But it wasn't an enemy fighter. It was a dog. Small, thin, ribs showing through its dusty coat. He just stood there, staring at me. No bark, no growl, just silence. I don't know why, but instead of chasing him away, I reached into my pocket, pulled out a strip of beef jerky, and tossed it on the ground. He devoured it like he hadn't eaten in days. From that night on, the dog kept coming back. I called him Shadow because wherever we went, he seemed to follow, always appearing quietly, like a ghost. At first, the guys thought it was just a stray, but Shadow stayed. He slept near our tents, ears always alert. He'd wag his tail when he saw us, and sometimes even barked when strangers came near. In a place where everything felt hostile, Shadow was different. He wasn't just a dog. He was a reminder of home, of peace, of something pure in a world filled with chaos. We began saving scraps of food for him. He'd sit with us during chow time, tail thumping in the dirt. And at night, when fear crept in, his presence gave us comfort we didn't even know we needed. But the war doesn't care about comfort. It was early morning. We were on patrol in a narrow valley when the world erupted. Gunfire tore through the silence. Bullets ricocheted off rocks, dirt flying into our faces. We were pinned down. I dove behind a boulder, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would break my chest. We returned fire, but the enemy had high ground. For a moment I thought, this is it. And then, out of nowhere, Shadow appeared. He ran straight toward the sound of gunfire, barking like a mad dog. The enemy's fire shifted for just a split second, long enough for us to move, reposition, and push forward. By the time the firefight ended, the enemy had scattered into the hills. We were alive. But Shadow wasn't. He was lying in the dirt, whimpering, blood staining his fur. I dropped my rifle and ran to him. "Stay with me, boy. Stay with me." I ripped a strip from my uniform and pressed it against the wound. His eyes flickered, tail wagging faintly as if to say, "Don't worry, I'm not done yet." That night, instead of sleeping, I sat beside him. I fed him water from my canteen, stroked his fur, whispered promises I didn't know I could keep. For the first time since I'd arrived in Afghanistan, I cried.
Somehow, Shadow pulled through. Weak, limping, but alive. And from that day on, he was more than a stray. He was family. Wherever I went, Shadow followed. He marched alongside us on patrols, curled beside me during freezing nights, and gave us laughter in the darkest moments. When fear was heavy, he reminded us we were still human. When loss crushed us, his wagging tail gave us hope. In a war that stripped away everything soft, Shadow kept my heart from turning to stone. By 2002, my deployment was ending. I had survived firefights, IEDs, and nights that felt like they would never end. I had lost brothers, faces I'll never forget, memories that still haunt me. But I had also gained something I never expected: unconditional loyalty from a dog in a war zone. When it came time to leave, I couldn't abandon him. I worked with a rescue group, filled out endless paperwork, begged anyone who would listen. Weeks later, Shadow was transported from Afghanistan to the U.S. The day I came home, I walked into a small shelter in Texas. My uniform still smelled of sand and gunpowder. And there he was, Shadow. The moment I called his name, he sprinted across the room, tail wagging furiously, leaping into my arms. I dropped to my knees, hugging him tight. For the first time in years, I felt like I was home. When people ask me about my service, I could tell them about firefights, about missions, about the endless fear. But instead, I tell them about Shadow. Because in the middle of a brutal war, when death was everywhere, a stray dog reminded me what it meant to live. He taught me loyalty. He taught me courage. And more than once, he saved me, not just from the enemy, but from losing myself. And that's a story I'll carry with me forever.